$42 stood between Marcus Hayes and eviction. One last delivery, and his room would be safe for a week. But on the coldest night in December, he spotted a trembling old woman by the roadside, holding a cardboard sign that read, "Need to get home to Lakewood." Helping her meant losing the money, and by morning maybe ending up on the street himself. The next 30 minutes would decide where he slept and change two lives forever. Cleveland hugged the edge of Lake Erie like a man clutching his collar yet still shivering. 20-year-old Marcus wove across wet asphalt on his battered cargo e-bike, squeezing the last miles from its battery. On his phone, a red number blinked. Minus $42. Less than an hour till 10 p.m. The landlady had warned him, "Be late and the door code changes at dawn." Through snow lit by amber street lamps, Marcus spotted a deserted bus shelter. Under its roof stood a fragile elderly lady in a thin coat, her hands shaking as if every flake weighed a pound. At that very moment, the app flashed a fat order. $18, 5 miles in the opposite direction, 15-minute timer. He glanced from phone to woman. She looked close to 80, hair spiky with sleet. Adjusting her glasses, she whispered street names as though searching for a forgotten password. "Ma'am, are you all right?" he asked as gently as he could. "I need to get home," she answered. "Lakewood. I can't figure which bus runs there this late." Marcus knew the last bus had gone. The next wouldn't come until 6 a.m., 9 icy miles away. He could ride off now, pay the rent, sleep under a roof. $42, his mind hammered. Just 42. He exhaled, swiped his screen. The order vanished, $18 evaporating like steam in the frost. Choice made. "I've got a seat," he said. "Not a limo, but it'll get you there." He spread his warm sweater over the hard rear deck of his long-tail e-bike, propped a backpack as a backrest, helped the woman settle side saddle, and strapped her in with an elastic webbing. Cargo more precious than any package. Into her hands he tucked a hot food pouch as a heater. All he kept was a hoodie and flimsy windbreaker. His phone went dark, dead battery or destiny cutting off retreat. "What's your name?" he asked, pushing off. "Doris," she said, as if recalling her own identity. "And yours?" "Marcus. Hold tight, Doris. It's going to bump." They rolled west toward the lake. Snow crunched under tires, mirrors turned lamps into blurred torches. Wind off the water stabbed with icy needles, every minute felt colder. His knees burned with fatigue, but his heartbeat stayed steady. A metronome for doing the right thing. Now and then Doris patted his shoulder to be sure he was real. She explained she'd come to a medical center that morning, left later than planned, and lost her way. Several times she asked, "How many miles left? Is this Lakewood already?" Each time Marcus answered as though hearing it anew, "Almost there, ma'am. Past that bend. One straight stretch and you'll see your lights." On the lakeside highway, water lay hidden in darkness, but its metallic chill lingered. Snowflakes grew larger. Sparse lampposts cast orange halos like suns suspended in the air. The chain squeaked but held. Behind him came a grateful sigh. Doris hugged the warm pouch and whispered, "You remind me of my grandson. He would have stopped too." Marcus didn't turn, but he smiled into the night. Ahead, a hazy glow on the horizon promised Lakewood was near. And cold wasn't the worst thing that could happen on a long winter night. Half a mile later, something clicked beneath them. Quiet, yet ominous. The pedal spun free. The chain sagged, exhausted like him. He rolled to the shoulder, braced the bike against a snowbank, crouched, fingers stiff with cold, examining the loose links. Erie's breath smelled of metal and salt. Across the road, the empty highway droned. Snow swirled in the pale cone of a streetlight, shrinking the universe to one narrow spotlight where two unlikely travelers met. Headlights drew near. A road maintenance truck stopped, splashing the drift with orange beacon flashes. A stocky man in a gray jumpsuit, night crew stitched on his jacket, climbed down, whistling at the odd pair. "Chain, huh?" he said, as casually as a weather report. "Yeah, and the battery's dying. Marcus answered. How far to Lakewood? 5 miles as the crow flies. And crows don't follow detours. Doris lifted her head, weary face, hopeful eyes. The man looked once and dropped the question forming on his lips. Slamming his door, he slid a folding ramp from the bed. Load her up. I'm stringing power cables that way anyway. Hop in. Marcus helped Doris into the cab. Warm air scorched his cheeks. Reflections danced on the glass. As the truck lurched ahead, the driver, Ed, handed Marcus a paper cup of cheap instant coffee. Bitter as gravel, it tasted like nectar. Doris watched window scenes of dark houses, wreaths on doors. Whenever a garland flickered by, her lips moved, counting bulbs or bargaining with memory. Marcus kept an eye on her. Whenever confusion clouded her gaze, he nodded, promising they were close. 15 minutes later, the truck turned onto a quiet street where old oaks bent snowy branches as if to hug the road. House number 15 looked like a postcard. Yellow windows, a roof quilted in frost. Porch lantern missing its pull rope. Ed flipped the hazards, unloaded the bike, muttered, "You're on your own," and rumbled back into the night. Marcus wheeled to the curb, offered Doris his arm. Their feet sank in deep snow the residents hadn't yet cleared. He knocked twice with a brass knocker. The door opened almost at once. Fire-scented warmth poured over the cold. A tall caregiver stood there. Dark skin, glasses on a chain, fuzzy bunny slippers. Seeing Doris, she lifted both hands to her cheeks. "Miss Maggie, you nearly gave us a heart attack." Doris folded her hands like an apology. Marcus spoke. "She got lost at the stop. No buses running now." The caregiver, Trina, stepped back to let them in. Logs crackled and black and white photos of an orchestra lined the wall. In one, a young Kellis smiled the same smile, only brighter. Trina took their coats and handed each a mug of real cocoa crowned with marshmallows. Marcus nodded thanks but didn't drink. Time ticked louder than any metronome. "Appreciate everything, but I have to head back," he said, setting the cup down. "I've got obligations." Doris touched his elbow. "Promise you won't freeze out there, child." From her pocket, she drew a tiny silver brooch shaped like a music note, its clasp bent but metal still gleaming. "It was my husband's good luck charm," she said. "Wear it when things feel heavy." Marcus tried to refuse, but Doris insisted. The brooch's chill kissed his hoodie, a reminder the world was wider than problems on a phone screen. He scribbled his number on an old receipt and handed it to Trina. "If Miss Doris ever needs help again, I'm nearby." Outside, the night thickened. The bike's battery gasped its last. His taillight blinked like a weak heartbeat. 2 downhill miles flew by with the wind pushing him. Then the industrial climb began. He walked, legs wooden. Cold scraped his lungs. The city slept. A lone truck, distant rail clang, the bread plant's aroma. Stage props for an actor forgotten by the spotlight. His loft house came into view, and he knew. A new digital lock flashed, the old code void. On the porch lay his backpack, a plaid blanket, and a note. "Late again. Room is relisted." He felt a hollow ringing. Not anger, not shock, more an echo after a door slams. Sitting on the top step, he folded numb fingers in his pockets, weighing shelter options. The overflow shelter line, far-off friends, a 24-hour cafe that shooed sleepers. Then the courtyard silence broke under a smooth engine purr. Headlights eased to a stop. A black SUV, polished like obsidian, idled. The air smelled of expensive fuel and melting snow. A tall man stepped out, long wool coat, pale scarf, silver hair, leather gloves, cream envelope in hand. He shut the door, approached as though cold didn't exist. "Good evening. I hope I found Mr. Marcus Hayes." His voice was warm yet precise, every syllable respectful. Marcus stood, snow squeaking under his soles. Under the lamp, the stranger resembled granite. Sharp cheekbones, straight brows, eyes free of judgment or haste. "That's me," Marcus said, hugging his pack for balance. "Pleasure to meet you. I'm Bradley Brooks, representing the Miller Family Trust. May I borrow a minute of your time?" Marcus scanned the dark yard, locked doors, the endless night stretching beyond the cold. Time itself waited for his answer. "Seems I've got a minute," he said. Bradley opened the envelope, revealing a neatly folded ivory card. "Miss Doris Miller woke up and insisted we find you tonight. She says you saved not just her evening, but her life." Marcus smiled faintly, recalling Doris singing to herself as wind tore the lyrics away. "She's kinder than she knows," he said. "Perhaps," Bradley nodded, "but Miss Miller rarely misjudges people. She asked us to offer you a sturdier roof than this." He gestured toward the dim loft windows where life, or its absence, rented cheap bunks. "There's a furnished guest cottage by her house, no utility bills. I have the key. And a job if you're interested." "What kind of job?" Marcus barely heard his own voice over blood in his ears. "Project City Notes. We collect, refurbish, and deliver musical instruments to schools with zero arts funding. We need someone who knows Cleveland streets better than GPS and can juggle schedules. Your ride tonight convinced us you can." Bitter coffee coated Marcus's tongue. His pocket held $40 in change and a bounced week of hope. And the pay? 18 an hour, flexible, morning load-ups, day routes, evenings free, cottage rent included, plus a clause about returning to college courses. Bradley had dropped that last line casually, but it hit harder than snow. College had always felt like a door slammed by debt and sleepless shifts. Marcus stared at the landlord's note. Late again suddenly looked comic. Destiny was larger. "I don't know," he whispered. "It's all so sudden." Bradley didn't press. He offered a green lanyard key fob. Miss Miller said, "The young man who stopped for an old lady deserves a pause, not another chase. Take the night, warm up, think it over. If you decide no, return the key tomorrow." The key chimed in Marcus's hand. Fragile as a bell, he inhaled icy air, holding it until his heart caught up with choice. "I'll try," he said. "Tonight, no schedules." Bradley smiled warmly. "Then please hop in. The heater works better than the highway." Through the SUV's fogged glass, the city lay like a quiet map of lights. Marcus cradled his backpack, a relic from his past life. He thought of $42, the broken chain, the silver note pinned to his chest, and Doris likely asleep under cream-colored blankets. Bradley tapped the radio. A children's choir drifted out. Crystal voices, a little off-key but honest. Marcus smiled, feeling for the first time that the sky above the lake could be kind, not just heavy. 3 months later, morning smelled of fresh lumber and varnish. Volunteers sanded an old piano in the cottage basement. Marcus glued new hammers, rehearsing routes in his head. School names, loading docks, bell schedules. By day, he collected gleaming trumpets, altos, comical red drums. The city notes van cruised neighborhoods. Kids waved plastic clarinets like batons. He honked back, short, cheerful, music only they understood. Evenings filled the cottage with lamplight and page rustle. Marcus tackled college prep math. The geometry of polygons felt strangely like the harmony of chords. The world a structure where everything could become an interval if aligned right. Once a week he visited Doris. They sat on the porch eating Trina's apple strudel. Doris more often remembered the weekday and the clinic floor she'd searched that night, and when she forgot, her eyes still stayed bright. "You let me live beyond memories," she said. "And are you living?" "I'm learning," Marcus answered, "and I'm not scared of door codes anymore." They laughed, their laughter mingling with cinnamon and distant wind in the oaks. The perfect cadence. On the last day of spring, the van rolled up to a middle school on the edge of town. Marcus opened the rear doors. Refurbished flutes winked, a bass guitar in a soft case, 2 violas, and a slate chalkboard. Kids crowded the steps as if awaiting touring stars. He raised a bronze trombone, the symbolic 100th instrument the project delivered. Applause burst from the music teacher. Marcus handed the trombone to a boy whose eyes lit like his had once glowed when his mother played blues on a battered shelter piano. In that moment, Marcus knew a roof isn't just walls and heaters. A roof is a chance to give someone even more room for a dream. Since that December night, $42 stopped measuring safety. They became a number that reminds him the most valuable things are often what you let go of for someone else. If you believe a random act of kindness can turn a freezing street into a road home, support this story. Hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Together we'll guide many more instruments and many more lives to the places they've always belonged.